Hello everyone, Unknown.project here. Today we'll continue our KSP series. So, actually I recorded the last episode, but OBS just recorded black, so we can show you some screenshots here. I went to Minmus, landed 2 times and got shit ton of science, but that actually isn't the recording, so you get to see it. Yeah, so sorry, it's not gonna happen again, I hope. So, now we're at our spaceship again, and we will enter Kerbin's atmosphere again. So you can see I've stored 15 experiments, I think, alone in the crew pod, and I also have a lot of science instruments on my pod. So, now we're coming in for our landing. I actually didn't realize the poles, they look actually pretty beautiful. You don't really see that because you're not at the poles that often, but since we're coming in pretty high angle, we can see them. So now you can just see me re-enter the atmosphere. We will just deploy our parachutes. I didn't quite get into the rocket design, but it's not important since you didn't see the mission anyway. Yeah, it's just OBS. I recorded KSP in window mode and not in game capture mode, which just recorded black screen, so not good. So now we're covering the vessel, and you can see how much science we got. So we got over 1000 science, and I'll just quickly show you all the science experiments we got. So we got basically from almost every biome on Minmus that's somewhat equatorial. So you can see here, and it all adds up. We landed 2 times. I actually just spontaneously decided to land because I was already so close. Like in the previous screenshots you could see it was very close, so I just thought, why not land? Isn't too bad. Yeah, so now we're just going to the R&D facility and unlocking a lot of stuff. So we'll be doing some big missions that coming soon. Yeah, so I'm sorry it's very laggy. I don't know why I didn't set OBS to high processing priority. Still pretty surprised that the R&D facility is the only thing in the recording that's laggy. Like even re-entry, which is pretty performance intensive, still plays back smoothly, but the R&D facility that doesn't, so that's weird. Anyway, so now as you might have noticed, I was a bit too excited when unlocking all the stuff because I forgot to unlock fairings. So without fairings you can basically do nothing, because all the complex missions require some parts that aren't very aerodynamical, so you need fairings, which is why I'll be doing another mission to the moon. I originally wanted to land on the moon, but as you can probably imagine, that doesn't work without proper aerodynamic pieces, because landing legs are pretty fragile. So this doesn't quite work. Yeah, at this point I still thought I'd go to the moon. Then I realized, well, we don't have fairings, so it doesn't work. So I looked back into the vehicle assembly building, in the R&D facility, and it cost around 90 science, I think, to unlock the fairings. So I thought, well, we can just go to the moon, do another flyby, last moon flyby. We didn't quite get science from that many biomes, so there's probably still stuff we can unlock and science we can get. So I packed some science instruments, which I later realized don't do anything except you land, and since I already got from high and low above man, didn't really help, but they're there anyways. I also want to use the new tough bread boosters, but they were a bit too big for my rocket, so I ended up not using them. Yeah, now we're already at the launch. Pretty quick and dirty rocket. It gets the job done. Also you can see the new mainsail engine, which has been rehauled in the 1.9 update. So we're just launching right now, and you can see the beautiful exhaust of the mainsail engine, which has also been rehauled, and it now features 2 turbo pump outlets where the exhaust from the turbo pumps comes out. It's the turbo pumps. They are also running on gasoline, and they have their own exhaust. On most engines it's just thrown out to the side, but they did a real good job at demonstrating that here in KSP. So we're just time warping up, and now I want to turn, but the SAS wheels on the capsule alone aren't enough to really turn the entire rocket ship, so I'll fire up the mainsail a bit and use the gimbal to turn, and now we're already heading off into orbit. So detaching, and there's our Wolfhound stage. Wolfhound engine is really good, it's super efficient, and it also can be put to the small diameter parts, not the real small diameter, but small diameter parts, so that it fits on this rocket. It looks a bit oversized, but that's fine. So now the maneuver node, yes, just put a small maneuver node to get into orbit. I kind of missed it, but not so bad. Like, it's not, getting orbit is usually a pretty easy thing, you get used to it. Yeah, so now we're targeting the moon again and just dragging out the orbit lines. Like, I don't know an exact encounter pattern, so I just drag it around the orbit and see where it gets me. Usually the best bet. Yes, so now we've got an encounter with the moon, so I will just burn the maneuver node. The maneuver node maker is pretty broken. It always says like stage break, like you can see it's saying I need to switch stages in between, which I don't need to. So I don't quite understand what happened there. I don't know since when it is like this, but just don't get distracted by it. Small bug, not so important. So we're already at the moon, just putting a small maneuver node to get into a highly eccentric orbit, since I want to save a lot of fuel, and I won't land anyway, so I can go in a highly eccentric orbit. And then I also want to go in a slightly tilted orbit, because if I'm in a perfectly equatorial orbit, I will only get the biomes that are just at the equator, which I don't know if that's actually enough to get me to the 490 science. And since it's more efficient to do burns at apoapsis, I will do it high up and have an eccentric orbit. So now I got it around 45 degrees tilted orbit. It's not exactly polar, but it's enough for my purposes, so that I can get some science from biomes lower than the equator and higher than the equator. So here you see me coming in. The trick I'm using is basically the EVA pack. If you're in space low above something, you get science from the individual biomes. I actually thought that might be true for the other science equipment, but it's actually just for EVA reports, so I'll be doing a lot of EVA reports then. So as you can see in the top left corner, I think it is, from the Kerbal Engineer readout. Oh no, it's in the top. Yeah, right, yes, top right. So you can see there, there's a readout of the biome you're currently over. So I can just check if it changes, and if it changes, I hop out and see if I've already got science from it. And if not, I'll get it. So I did it like I think 3 orbits, but you can see me occasionally hopping out and just getting that science, because I needed to unlock fairings, and when I unlock fairings, the next missions, we can do some more complicated stuff. So yeah, so that was the first orbit. I'm gonna go around a second time. So boom, we are doing another orbit. The magic of video editing, this only took a few seconds. This entire maneuver in real life took really long, because time warp is a bit slow when deactivating, so I gotta keep it low. You can see in the top left corner Or usually add like 10 times time warp, but so you don't have to wait as long. It's sped up 500% now, so you don't have to take the same time at it. It's just if you deactivate time warp, it doesn't stop immediately, and since the biomes might only appear very short, I need to use little time warp. And I'm just checking all the science points I have and checking if it's enough to unlock fairings, and it is. So I'm now just pointing prograde and burning. So I'm not quite in the right spot, but it's not a problem since I can just burn back. I have a lot of delta V, like I didn't even use the last stage. I just went with the Wolfhound engine, which again shows you how extremely efficient it is. So completely overbuilt this rocket. But since it doesn't have landing legs, I can't do the same thing I did for Minmus, because Moon gravity is a lot higher and I don't want to risk to damage my engine. So now we're just coming in. You may be wondering, why did I leave this on? Just so I have that extra heat resistance. Anyway, the re-entry is quite violent. You can enjoy it in real time. This is 100%. It's no time acceleration. It was, well, with tipping over, like you can see more heat gauges and on one point the game can handle. But it worked. Jebediah current passed out too, but he'll be waking up soon enough, I hope. If not, that would be very sad. So then I changed the parachute to only deploy at 700 meters, which is pretty sporty since you're going to see just slow down enough, like 15 meters above the ground. So if I set it to 600, like we would just boom on. So pretty good guess there from me. Anyway, so we got the science we need, 130 I think. So now let's hop into the R&D facility and unlock the fairings. So then next episode we're going to start with another more complicated mission. I've planned to launch a space station into orbit. Stay tuned for that, subscribe, like the video, share it, and don't forget to ring the bell so you won't miss the next episode. Have a nice day.